back to my channel. This video will be for the plus size version of the crochet tank top. If you're interested in this tutorial, keep watching and we'll get right to the video. Okay, so for this project I'm using this lightweight yarn that I picked up on AliExpress. I'll put a link to this yarn in the description box down below. You can use whatever yarn you have available, doesn't matter, but with this yarn I'm using my 4mm crochet hook. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so to begin, you are going to make a loop and chain 12. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. You're going to skip the first 3 chains from the hook, so that's 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th you're going to put 1 double crochet. Okay, so with this 3 chain over here, that counts as 2 stitches. So now you're going to chain 2, and in that same 4th chain right there, you're going to put another 2 double crochets, and that will form our first V-stitch, like so. Okay, and then again we're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th you're going to put 2 double crochets. So that's 1 and 2, then chain 2 and 2 more double crochets, all in that same space. 1 and 2. All right, and again skip 3 spaces, three chains, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th you're going to put 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all in that same last chain space, and that will be our final V-stitch. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, all in that same space. 1 and 2. Now to begin the next round, chain 1, turn the work around. You're going to slip stitch into that first stitch, slip stitch into the second, slip stitch into that chain 2 space, and that is where our round 2 will begin. So we're going to start with a chain of 3, which counts as our first double crochet. Now 1 more double crochet in that chain 2 space, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets, all in that same space. 1 and 2, and that's our first V. So into the next chain 2 space of our previous V stitch, we're going to make another V. So it's 2 double crochets in that same chain 2 space, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets, all in that one space, that chain 2 space. And now the third one, which is our final, we repeat the same thing. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, all in that same space. And now you're going to chain 1, slip stitch in each stitch all the way to the chain 2 space, and you will repeat the same thing. Okay, so let me just get over to the chain 2 space. So you will chain 3, 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, all in that same space. 1 and 2. Okay, so right now we have 2 rows completed. You will do this for a total of 4 rows. So go ahead and finish row 3 and row 4 and then I'll meet you and we'll move on from there. I have my 4 rows completed, and now for row 5, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, slip stitch in the first stitch, slip stitch into the second, slip stitch into the chain 2 space, and chain 3, and 1 double crochet in that chain 2 space, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, all in that same space. Okay, and the only difference in row 5 is that after each V-stitch we're gonna add a chain 1. So chain 1, then work the next V-stitch, which is the same, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all in that chain 2 space of the previous round. And then chain 1 and work the final V-stitch. So that is the only change for round 5. Whoops, my thread is getting caught. Okay, so 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all in that same space. Now moving on to round 6, chain 1, slip stitch your way back to the chain 2 space, and then we will begin with our 3 chains, then 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochets to begin round 6. Okay, and in round 6 the change here will be, instead of 1 chain, we're gonna do 2. So for round 6 we're gonna do V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch. So go ahead and finish round 6 and then we'll go on. So now to begin round 7, I've already done my first V-stitch because that is going to remain the same moving forward from here. Okay, so once you have your V-stitch done, now you're going to chain 3, 2 and 3, and in that center V-stitch we are going to put 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Now chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets, all in that same center V. So here's what we have: 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. So we have 6 double crochets with 2 chain 2s between, like so. And this is round 7. Okay, and then we're going to work our last V-stitch. So you're going to chain 3 and work the final V-stitch on this side. So that's 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And then we'll do row 8, which is chain 1, turn your work, slip stitch all the way to the chain 2 space. Okay. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Work your first V-stitch. 2 and 1 and 2. And now we will chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so in this first V-stitch, in this first chain 2 space, we're going to work a V-stitch. So 1, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And as you may notice, we are increasing as we go along. Okay, now you're going to chain 2 and work another V-stitch in that next chain 2 space. So that's 1, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and now chain. We're doing the last stitch, so it's chain 3 and work your last V-stitch right there. Okay, so go ahead and finish your last V-stitch, and then for the next row, which would be row 9, make your first V-stitch and then we'll go on. Okay, so row 9 is going to start the same as every other row with your V-stitch and chain 3. Row 9 is going to be the exact same thing as row 8. So you're going to work a V-stitch in each V-stitch all the way across. So it is 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in that first chain 2 space. Chain 2 and 2 double crochets into the next chain 2 space. Oops. Chain 2 and 2 more double crochets all in that same space. And then for your last V, you're always going to chain 3 and work the final V-stitch. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you at the beginning of row 10. Okay, for row 10, I've already done my first V-stitch and chain 3. Okay, so next I will work another V-stitch in the chain 2 space of the previous V-stitch. So that is 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets all in that chain 2 space. 1 and 2. Now I will chain 2, and in that chain 2 space of the previous round, I'm going to put 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 more double crochet, just like so. Okay, now chain 2 and work the next 2 V-stitches. So you will work 1 V-stitch here, chain 3, and your final V-stitch. So go ahead and do that, and also start the first V-stitch of row 11, and then we'll move on. So starting row 11, first V-stitch and chain 3 already done. Moving on, we're going to make a V-stitch in the next chain 2 space of the previous V-stitch. So it is always 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, all in that space. And now we'll chain 2 in that single V-stitch that we have here. We're going to make a V-stitch, a complete V-stitch. So 2 double crochets, chain 2 and 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Now chain 2, and you should have it from here. Okay, so you will chain, after you chain 2, you make your next V-stitch right there, then chain 3 and make your final V-stitch. Okay, and then make your first V-stitch for round 12, and then we'll move on. Okay, so for round 12, I've started my first V and chain 3. Round 12 is going to be the exact same thing as round 11. So you're going to put a V-stitch in the first V-stitch, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, chain 3, and 1 in the last one. And you know, between each V-stitch in the center, you'll have chain 2. So V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch. So go ahead and complete row 12, and then we'll go on. Okay, so for row 13, we are going to be increasing in these 3 points, 1, 2, and 3. All right, so I have done my first V and my chain 3. Okay, so for in the first V stitch, I'm going to start in that double crochet before the chain 2 space. So I'm going to put 1 double crochet into that first double crochet before the chain 2, and then in the chain 2 space I'm going to put 2 double crochets, then chain 2, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'm going to do my 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space, then 1 in that first double crochet for a total of 3. So you see I have 3 stitches over on this side and 3 on this side, and the chain 2 in the center. Okay, and now I'm going to chain 2, and I'll show that to you again. So the stitch, not the first stitch, but the second stitch, or the first one from the chain 2 space, I'll put 1 double crochet, then 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space, then chain 2, and I'll start with the chain with 2 double crochets in that space. So now I'm working the opposite side, so I'm going backwards pretty much, but doing the same thing I did on this side. So 2 double crochet in the chain 2 space, then 1 in that first double crochet for a total of 3. All right, and then chain 2, and I'll show you again for this round. So 1 double crochet in that double crochet before the chain 2 space, 1, then 2 in the chain 2 space, then chain 2, 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, then 1 in that first double crochet, then chain 3, and work that last double crochet. All right, so go ahead and work the last V-stitch of this round, and also the first V-stitch and chain 3 of round 14, and then we'll move on from there. So round 14 is another increase round. So seeing how we have 3 stitches here, for the next round we're going to have 4. So you know you're going to put 2 in here. So we will start with the second stitch here. So we'll add 2 in, 1 in each of these 2 stitches, and 2 here for a total of 4. I hope that made sense. If not, let me demonstrate. Okay, so we'll skip the first stitch. We'll make 1 double crochet in that second double crochet of the previous round, another in that second one or third one, whichever, then 2 in the chain 2 space, which gives us a total of 4 stitches. So previous round had 3, now we have 4. Okay, now chain 2, and we'll start with 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, 1 in that first stitch, the first double crochet of the previous round, 1 in the second, and that gives us a total of 4 on that side also. Now chain 2, and we're going to repeat the same thing in this V-stitch and this V-stitch. So skip the first stitch, 1 double crochet in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the chain 2 space, and chain 2, 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, 1 in the first stitch, 1 in the second, skip the last one, chain 2, and repeat. Okay, so I will leave you to do this one. So you will skip the first stitch, 1 in each of these 2 stitches, 2 in the chain 2, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and then 1 and 2 in the next 2, skip the last one, chain 3, and finish the last V. So go ahead and complete this round, start round 15, and then we'll continue. All right, round 15. We are going from 4 stitches to 5. so we're going to skip the first stitch and start in the second. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And then 2 stitches, 2 double crochets in that chain 2 space, chain 2, 2 double crochets in that chain 2 space, 1 and 2, and now 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches and skip the last double crochet. So we skip the last one, so you should have 5 on each side of the chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and chain 2, and you will do the same thing on this side. So skip the first one, do 3 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3 stitches, then 2 in the chain 2 space, 1 and 2, chain 2, 2 double crochets, then 1 in each of the next 3 stitches for a total of 5. 1, 2, and 3. Skip the last one and chain 2. Okay, and then you will repeat the same thing for this section, then chain 3 and do your last V-stitch. So go ahead and do that, and also do your first V of row 16, and then we'll continue. All right, so for round 16, we will also have 5 stitches on either side of these 3 points. Okay, so to make sure we don't increase, we're gonna, instead of skipping the first one, we're gonna skip the first 2, and we're gonna work 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Then 2 in the chain 2 space for a total of 5. If we were increasing to 6, then we'd just skip 1, but we want to have another row of 5 stitches, so we skip 2. I hope that makes sense to you, because if we had skipped 1, then we would have ended up with 6 stitches, but we only want 5. And we always want to have 2 in the center here, not 1. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say there. But moving on, we'll put 2 double crochets here in that chain 2 space, then 1 in each of the next 3 for a total of 5 stitches. And we'll skip the last 2, chain 2, and move over to the next side, where we'll skip the first 2 and work 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. 3, then 2 in the chain 2 space for a total of 5. All right, then chain 2 and work the other side, then chain 2 and work both sides in this section, then chain 3 and work your final V-stitch of this round. Also go ahead and work your first V-stitch of row 17, and then we'll continue. Okay, row 17. For row 17, we will be increasing from 5 stitches to 6. So we're going to skip the first stitch and then 1 in each of the next 4 stitches. 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. 2, 3, and 4. Now 2 in the chain 2 space for a total of 6. Chain 2, 2 double crochets into that chain 2 space, then 1 in each of the next 4 stitches for a total of 6 on this side. And 4. Right, skip the last one, chain 2, 1, 2, and you will skip the first one on this side, and again repeat. So 1 in each of the next 4, 2 into the chain 2 space, chain 2, repeat on the other side, and on this in this section, then chain 3 and work your last V-stitch to complete that round. So go ahead and finish row 17, then begin row 18 with your V-stitch and chain 3, and then we'll continue. Okay, for row 18, we won't be increasing from 6. We will be doing another row of 6. So we will skip 2 and start in the third. We'll do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then 2 in the chain 2 space to make 6, chain 2 and 2 in the chain 2 space. Then we'll do 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 for a total of 6 on this side. And 4. And then we will chain 2, skip the last 2 stitches, skip the first 2 on the other side, start in the third, and then we will repeat. So you'll do 1 in each of the next 4. So we already did the first one, so we'll do this one, this one, this one, then 2 in this side to give us 6 on this side. Chain 2, 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space, then the first 4 stitches, chain 2, skip the last 2, repeat. Okay, and after we're finished this row, row 18, for row 19, we will increase from 6 to 7. And then row 20, we will repeat another 7 stitches. So finish this row 18 with your 6 stitches in these 3 points. Then do row 19, which will be increasing to 7 stitches in these 3 points. Then do row 20, which will be another 7 stitches in the 3 points. So you should have 2 rows of 6 stitches, then 2 rows of 7 stitches. I'm sure you can manage that on your own. And then I will meet you once I have my row of 6 complete and my 2 rows of 7. So I'll meet you at the end of row 20. So keep working and then we'll go on from there. All right, so I have completed round 20. And at this point, I will pull up a loop and cut off my end. Just like so. Okay, and now I will turn my work around and I will need to repeat this exact same thing. So this whole thing on this side. Alright, so I will attach my yarn. I'll just make a loop. Okay, like so. And I'll attach my yarn right here. Just like that. And I will slip stitch into the center right there. Okay, now chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and I will work my first V-stitch right there. So that's 1 double crochet, chain 2, then 2 double crochet all in that same space, 1 and 2, and then I will move over to the next space right here, and I'll work my next V-stitch, 1, 2, chain 2, 1, 2, and 2 double crochet all in that same space. Then over to the third space, so right here, I'll work my last V-stitch of this round. 1 and 2, chain 2 and 2 more double crochets, and then chain 1, turn the work around, slip stitch in the first stitch, slip stitch into the second, slip stitch into the chain 2 space, chain 3, and make my next V-stitch, which is the first V-stitch of row 2. And then I'll move over and do my second, 1, 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, then my last, 1 and 2, chain 2 and 2 more. And pretty much we are repeating on this side everything that we've done on this side. So we know we had 4 of this round, and what you can do is fold it along the lines, so you'll do pretty much your mirroring what's on this side. So you can restart the video and pick up from these 4 rows, complete your 4 rows and pick up from where we left off on this side. Or what I'm trying to say is do the 4 rows here on this side, so we have 2 already done, do 2 more, and then follow the pattern like we did on this side. Alright, so go ahead and complete the second side exactly like this side, and then we'll continue. Alright guys, so with both sides completed, you should have something like this. And this is only one shoulder back and front of your top. So you will need to make another one exactly like this. Okay, so go ahead and complete a second one of this, exactly the same as we did before, with both sides. And then once you have another one like this completed, then we will continue. I'll go ahead and make mine, and then we'll move on. Okay guys, so now that I have both sides completed back and front, we are going to move on. So I will, at this point you'll fold them in 2 like so, to determine your wrong side and right side. At this point we've been working back and forth, so there is no real wrong side or right side, so it's up to you. Just fold it in half for now, and I'll be working on one side at a time. So with my tail ending on this side, since I'm working from right to left, I'll fold it this way down the center like so. Alright, so moving forward, I am going to I'm gonna chain 1 just like usual, and then slip stitch over to the center chain 2 space just like before. 1 and 2, and into the chain 2 space, another slip stitch, like so. Now chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna do my first V-stitch. So nothing much has changed. And chain 2, 2 double crochet all in that same space, just like before. And this is now round 21. So we'll chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. All right, so before we stopped with 7 chains in this section, so we are going to increase to 8 stitches. So I'm going to skip the first stitch and then do 1 double crochet in each of the next 6 stitches, just like so. So we are pretty much following the pattern onwards, just like we did before, but we will be connecting the sides together. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches, and then 2 into the chain 2 space for a total of 8 stitches in this round. Then chain 2 and repeat. So 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space, then 1 in each of the next 6 double crochets of the previous round to make 8. Three, 4, 5, and 6. And now I will chain 2. Let me move this out of the way. Chain 2 and continue. All right, so I want you to go ahead, increase from 7 to 8 in this panel, in this section on both sides, and in this section on both sides. Chain 3 and work your last V-stitch, and then we'll move on from right here. All right, so I have made it across from right here over to the end of this first panel. So folding it back into, I am going to attach this side to this side, which will now become the underarm section. So this is 1/2 of the front and 1/2 of the back, and we'll attach it right here, underarm. So I am just going to double crochet into the chain 2 space right here and continue working. So I didn't do any chains before connecting these two. See, I ended my last double crochet like so, and just moving on to a double crochet in the chain 2 space of the next side. So that's 1, 2, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all in that same space. And now I will chain 3 and continue across this section just like I did on the previous section. So we had 7, and we are, for this round, we are increasing to 8. So you'll skip the first double crochet and do 1 double crochet in each of the next 6 double crochets, then 2 in the chain 2 space, chain 2, and 2 double crochet, and then 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, then 6 in each of the next 6 stitches, and continue. So keep going all the way across, and then I'll meet you at the end of this section, and we'll attach the other panel. So I have completed this side. So we've attached it under the arm right there, and I've worked all the way across to this side. And you're gonna grab your second panel and you're gonna attach it pretty much the same as we did here. So you're going to just do your double crochet into the chain 2 space like so. Your 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. So I'll do that with you. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And we're still working on row 21, so we are going to increase from 7 stitches to 8 in these sections. So you'll make this 8 stitches on either side of the chain 2 for this panel, for this panel, for this panel. And with your work folded, again, you're going to join these two just like we did over here and over here. And then keep going. 8 stitches on either side of these 2 double crochets, 8 stitches on each side of these these chain 2 spaces there, and also here. Chain 3, work your V-stitch there, and at that point you will join with this side. So altogether you should join, there's 1, 2, these 2 to form the underarm. Sorry, mine is twisted. These 2 to form the underarm, go across, and then these 2 to form the front. Okay, so we should have a front, an underarm, another underarm, and a back where our 2 panels join. I hope that makes sense to you. Alright, so we'll just keep working across, increasing from 7 stitches to 8, joining the sides as you go along. And then I'll meet you all the way back at our starting point. Okay, so keep going, and then I'll meet you there. I am up to my beginning point. This is where we started and worked all the way around. And now to complete this round, I will slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 to join, and now slip stitch across to the chain 2 space and begin the next round. So just the same pattern we've been repeating. So chain 3, 1 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet for our first V, and chain 3. Okay, and moving forward from this round onward, we will be keeping our count of 8. So in previous rounds, to keep 8, we would skip 2 and then work in these 6, then put 2 in the center. But moving forward, we'll be skipping 1, putting 1 double crochet into each of the next 7 stitches like so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And in that center chain 2 space, 1 double crochet for a total of 8. Now chain 2 and repeat. 1 double crochet in the chain 2 space, then 1 in each of the next 7. So the only difference moving forward will be, instead of 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, we will be putting only 1. And each round we will still hold a count of 8. So we're not increasing and we're not decreasing moving forward. And with that, I will leave you. So at this point, you will just keep working in a round from beginning all the way around, keeping the same pattern. 8 stitches on this side of the chain 2, 8 stitches on that side in each panel, then chain 3, do your corner V-stitch, then your next chain 3, repeat all the way around, and then you will join in your chain 3 space right here. When you come back around to the beginning, slip stitch to the center and start over. And then you'll just keep doing this until you have the desired length of your top or dress, whatever it is that you're making. And that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in another video. Bye.